Regarding sugar. On February 14th, 2011, at 9:11 a.m., Caitlin Sass wrote, "Hi, Joseph. I'm not entirely sure if stocking the office kitchen is still within your purview. If it is, may I enter a small but potentially well-appreciated request? Packets of raw cane sugar. There are two reasons for this. One, there is a very real, practical possibility that for those employees who are so pressed for time as to delegate the cleaning of their cutlery and dishes, especially coffee mugs, to their less booked coworkers, inspiring you to send out your weekly emails scolding these unnamed and inconsiderate persons for their dorm room propriety in what should be a professional setting, then the time saved in switching from bulk cylindrical sugar delivery to packet-based sugar delivery would offset the time cost of dish cleaning, and these persons might actually wash their dishes, saving you the heartache and anger expressed with so many capitalized words and exclamation points in your emails to the water cooler email list, which we both know only goes to those not sharp enough with their email application management to create a rule that auto-filters emails sent to the water cooler distribution list into a separate folder outside the inbox, which can't be called junk because that already exists, but something similar. Maybe out of kindness, simply water cooler. I'm not one of those people. I enjoy your emails, but given the time management pressures we already face, consider how sugar delivery during coffee filling affects us. As you know, the office currently offers two sweeteners: granulated bleached white sugar contained in a 1-liter bulk cylindrical container with its plastic top and die-cut punch hole opening. It's important to note that the cylinder is opaque, not transparent. And sugar substitutes, the brand names I lose track of, available in either light pink, light blue, or light yellow single-serve packets. Apparently, we are comforted by the soft colors as we decide on an artificial sweetener. Consider the mental calculations involved in every bulk cylindrical sugar delivery. The number of sugar grains in an individual packet of sugar multiplied by 2 or even 3 in some cases. Flow dynamics out of a cylindrical container accounting for cohesive and adhesive forces that diminish with gravity's effect as you near the tipping point. The calculation of the tipping point itself as the pie slice-shaped opening builds up an eddy of sugar, making the tipping point shift to a more obtuse angle of tilt as you raise your wrist higher and higher to get more. The maintenance of a mental model of the amount of sugar already delivered. Undercompensation is required, not just because we all know it's impossible to undissolve sugar, at least using tools found in an office kitchen, and not just because this will no doubt have been the last cup of coffee in the thermos, thus leaving the coffee drinker with the time-consuming chore of refilling it or else risking the internal shame of having left an empty thermos for the next would-be coffee drinker. But because the second greatest uncertainty in the tipping point calculation mentioned above occurs at the end, when you realize you've already poured plenty, but you forget the final upward tension of your wrist flexors inevitably allows a certain unestimated value and more sugar to fall into your cup before gravity can restrain the rest behind the sugar eddy. The undercompensation is key. This is a lot of gymnastics, a lot of stress, and before the caffeine can take effect. Is it any wonder our esteemed colleagues have no time to wash their dishes? I'm sure you've already realized that relieving us of these calculations can be addressed by switching to any type of packet-based delivery model, similar to whatever sits in those little pink, blue, and yellow packets. Now, I'm not a hippie, I promise. My refusal of these sugar substitutes has less to do with health concerns than it does with the desire for consistency. It has been proven that raw, unprocessed sugar is metabolized more efficiently by the body, prolonging the insulin response of glucose breakdown and thus sustaining energy over a longer period of time, which means less need to return for another cup or an afternoon snack, which of course saves money. It's all about efficiency. Just a thought. Please add it to your list. Thanks. Caitlin Sass, Junior Product Manager. On February 14th, 2011, at 10:42 a.m., Caitlin Sass wrote, "Mom, Take a look at the email I just forwarded you before you read this. I took your advice. I've never sent a message like that before at work, but as you said, there are more ways to stay unnoticed than there are to get noticed, and you have to embody success if you want to find it, so I wrote that email, and as I sent it, I was filled with pride. Maybe Joseph will only read it, chuckle, get the sugar packets, and that'll be that. But what if he reads it, and in my request, he recognizes my value as an analytical thinker, or how easy it is for me to come up with ways of saving our company money, paying attention to the bottom line in everything I do. I know he's just a facilities manager, but he has access to the same email address as we all do. So what if he forwards mine on to someone more important, like my boss, or my boss's boss, or even the CEO? It can only help Joseph as facilities manager. It would show that he recognizes talent, that he realizes that if I had this idea for saving money from just a casual walk into the office kitchen, then just think of what else I could do if I were put into a position of more power. And think of what he could do with such an ability to recognize talent if he was made, human resources manager or something. We're both valuable. We could be listed as assets on the balance sheet. They just need to put us to good use, and I'm providing them with that option. Luck favors the prepared, right? Perhaps the CEO would start to wonder what type of person I really am, and what it was they hadn't seen in me in my initial interview, and through all the subsequent annual reviews. What if he even desired me? What if it led to something more than just a raise or a promotion, like a romance or a family? I know this is ridiculous, but I couldn't deny those thoughts as I hit send and waited. Within the hour, I received the following reply from Joseph.
Caitlin, really? That long email was about sugar? Not to be rude, but I did not read it. If you want raw sugar, just request it, and I'll see what I can do.
Mom, there's no humor in the corporate world. I will probably die here. Love, C.
On February 14th, 2011, at 3:01 p.m., Marcus Lintner wrote, Caitlin, as CEO, I rarely read messages from our facilities manager. As I'm sure you know, he spends a disproportionate and inappropriate amount of time emailing the other 114 employees of our agency about proper dishwashing etiquette. However, when our new CFO, Rochelle, forwarded me your message, and I read it, I have to tell you that I cried. No, not just cried. I broke down. I had to lock my office. The excess of my tears transformed the light blue streaks of my new tie to something resembling dried blood. A dark purplish, reddish purple. I don't know why. Something about the intricate stitch pattern, or perhaps the new synthetic fibers. I don't imagine they think to tear-proof them. I even thought about calling my mother. But the reason for my tears is not the type of thing I would tell my mother. Rest easy, though. I do not hold you responsible. You could have never known this, of course, but I recently lost someone dear to me, a brother of sorts. Her name is Jenny. She had two brothers with whom I was very close as a boy, but they might as well have been three brothers, given Jenny's boyish sensibilities. She could beat us all up, and would rather hide in the dirt playing war games than bother with nails or shopping. the four of us became inseparable and went to the same college where, through a blood pact, they took me into their family. It began with an inebriated conversation standing over a red pedestrian bridge, well known for the prevalence of suicide jumpers in our college business program. But suddenly, once sobriety eventually raked itself back again, and we faced each other, the pact remained unbreakable. Whichever of us died first, the others would procure and clean the skull of the deceased, and drink wine out of it, as if it were a chalice. Well, we hadn't specified the type of wine. We were potheads and drinkers, and even if we were 4.0 students. The night and the following morning was one of the happiest of my life. Of all of ours, I believe. We belonged to each other. We always would. We could do anything, and just thinking about our pact on that bridge and the look on each other's faces in the morning, those half smiles, Jenny's bite marks on her lip, and then our consecutive nods, well, it fills me with that same ocean's volume of wind that inspired me to form this agency. Jenny died 2 weeks ago. She was the first. Her brother, Frank, thankfully, was in residency at Cornell only a few hours from the city where Jenny died, and promised us that he'd take care of bringing her to us. But Frank was late. Their parents made the decision while he was in traffic en route in his busted Upranger, I can't believe that thing still runs, and Jenny's body was already interred and cremated. So when Frank arrived at my house, not long after Bob, the two of us standing around the butcher block in my kitchen, Frank removed a red cylindrical plastic sugar container from his backpack. Not unlike the one you described as being stocked in our own company kitchen. Frank stood it on the butcher block and told us all that he had were her ashes, and that he'd stolen them from the mortuary, slipped them into an empty sugar container, so that he could make his getaway unnoticed. We did not hate him. It was the best he could do. We agreed immediately, as if we were of one mind, not three, that we would simply divide Jenny's ashes equally into 3 wine glasses. And we would toast her, and then we would drink her. I promise you, we would have cleaned her skull if we had had the chance. We did not take this consolation prize lightly, so we took the following steps extremely seriously. You may say overly seriously, in an effort to make up for our guilt. At any rate, our primary task became the dispersal of Jenny's remains equally, precisely, from a bulk cylindrical sugar delivery system with its pizza pie hole and its little fucking edgy and all the intricacies of calculation, acceleration, adhesion, cohesion, flow dynamics, wrist flexor, reactivity, etc. that you had so perfectly outlined in your email. Ashes do not have the same density as ashes. But in terms of simultaneous equations, this is a difference of constants, not variables. In fact, ashes seem to clump in ways different from sugar, further complicating things, though I'm not so observant or eloquent as you to explain exactly how. We made one crucial mistake. We poured the wine first. To anyone else, I would have to explain how challenging this can be. The first shout of, "Stop! You're pouring too much!" erupted from Frank, and me, deservedly. From there, things went downhill. I have since come to terms personally with the disrespect we have afforded Jenny. But Frank and his brother have not. And while they know they cannot put all the blame on me, they are not yet ready to stop trying. Your descriptions of flow dynamics at the spout brought all of this back up. All of the swirling emotions I have been stuffing away through board meetings and from a switch from wine to scotch. And more than raising these emotions, it is the precisions, Caitlin, of the memory, which is to say the precision of the mental processes involved in my mind at that very moment when all the world went away and it was just me and a few ounces of Jenny's silent action remains. All these forces and processes that control our actions, our thoughts, our very selves. Caitlin, given all that we have now been through together, I think you can understand why I have to let you go. You are a very special person. And I'm sure you will find another agency that appreciates your attention to detail, your creativity, and your focus on the bottom line. Unfortunately, I cannot give you a reference either. Publicly, I cannot know you. Oh, rest assured, Joseph has been let go as well for his response to you. We want to foster the type of thinking that you exemplified, not squelch it. I'll admit it crossed my mind for a moment to suggest you take his place, but that's too much irony for my blood. As you see, there's simply no other option. Best of luck.